think in some ways it did help, and maybe the message now in our documentary as well when we screen it in Cambodia is to also reach out to them and say, hey, this is just another way of you, that you could, draw inspiration from these characters to try and move on.
So the film was actually shown in Cambodia?
No, not yet. But
not yet.
Actually, Soy Sen would have seen it, although he probably may not understand everything. But Soy Sen would have seen it. Some of the people that help us would have seen it because we have sent them DVD copies of them, but we haven't done like a big screening like this. In fact, the only place we have really shown is actually mostly in festivals. Yeah. Although he has a rather strong, I think, like you say, there's a very strong TV feel. So because of that, actually I think we should be quite successful. We have a little bit of success in selling a slightly shorter version of this to some, I think, a network in Australia pick it up to show this film. So perhaps it will be shown, more people might get to see. But yeah, sadly it's not enough people in Cambodia is watching. In fact, I'll be super curious how they will think about it.
Yes.
What was it like interviewing brother Tuition? I mean, I was racing through my museum that what I feel is always living in denial. And also, was there a reason why he didn't buy Gucci sunglasses?
That's a very good question. In fact, that's the only part of the film which I didn't do it. It was done by Eunice and Ying Ying. So maybe Ying Ying you can come out as well. Because I think Ying Ying and you know, okay. So Eunice was there, so.
Yeah, it was, we actually filmed this interview with Luncha in 2004 or 5. And at that time, we were the first one to actually get an interview with him. It was an exclusive. So, we actually wanted it to be like a treatment like Fog of War, if I don't know if you guys have caught it. Sort of him narrating, giving his account of history, which is alternative to what we know, and his justification. It was quite hard to find fundings for it, partly because it was not in English. It's narrated in Cambodian, in Khmer, sorry. And so we brought the film to Oak Tree, and we decided as well, to expand it out. Like I said, there was just too much focus on the trial, on the killings and stuff like that. We wanted a slightly more meditative sort of approach to understanding, the history and all that. Luncha himself, I've met him many times. My first time was when I was a young journalist. I just went up to his house and said, I want to have a chat with you. I'm not here to judge you, but I want to know what you think and things like that. And I think that the fact that I wasn't there to judge him, call him a killer, made him open up a little. And also his daughter, he sent his youngest daughter off to China to study when she was 12 in 1979 when the Vietnamese invaded. So they all sorts of backing and security, because their backers were Chinese, right? The Chinese. And she was an interpreter, so from there I can actually draw a lot from, what the father was thinking and all, because he didn't like my translator. And what was he like? When you see him, you will be taken aback by how humble his background is. And the thing is that he is, as the David Chandler, who was the historian, said, a true patriot, revolutionary. He is what you see. He really believed in his revolution and his war. And when I went there, I remember his Casio watch, his sarong, which was torn. The house that he lived in was actually donated by the daughter of one of his friends. So he didn't own anything. So he lived in some measure of poverty. People will come up to him, I remember during the interview, traveling on motorbikes from another province just to see him, because they really believed that he tried to change things for the better for the poor. It's a bit like how people see worship Mao. And they will bring gifts like, fruits and stuff like that. And that's how he lived, based on gifts from, people as well as his kids who were farmers. So you compare him to people like Hun Sen, Prime Minister of Cambodia today, who is known to be living in big houses and own huge, vast land because he can. He's the strong man and he just grabs and grabs and his people grabs and grabs, and then you wonder, okay, so this guy, you just see two sides of the coin and you don't condemn him just for what happened. Of course he has to account for it, but at the same time, you can't take away the fact that he believed and that he had ideology that he held on to even till today. And today in court he says, I will defend myself, I do not need a lawyer because he thinks he did not do anything wrong. But he will take responsibility because he was a leader, that's the man he is with principles. But at the same time, he is also responsible for carrying out these policies that kill lots of people.
I don't think that killing has anything to do with religion. I don't think so. And back to earlier what you said, I think, yeah, probably he wears, to begin with, this guy has no golden tap in his house, and I think you're probably right, he wears his sunglasses probably to hide something. But I kind of agree with Eunice, and I think personally that I kind of believe what he says, Obviously I disagree with what he has done, but I do agree with certain things that he said, I think it's little to do with religion at that time, In fact, they banned all religion, so.
But at the same time, talking about communism and socialism is a form of fundamentalism. And basically what we are also trying to say is that, this whole thing about ideology, utopia, the search of utopia, is it worth it? At the end of the day, because scores of people have to die and have died, for that idea in our mind about affection, about utopia. So it's also in a way for us to contemplate if any ideology, be it religion or social-based and stuff, is it worth it? That's a question we have to ask ourselves before we get ourselves involved in another war, another conflict.
Okay, next question.
By the way, if anyone would like to leave, it's okay, don't be paiseh. Although we are talking, but we are not really interrupting, so just in case, just let you know.
Too modest. Yes.
Coming back to Buddhism, I'm just curious to find out whether this turning to Buddhism, was it an effect of the Khmer Rouge, or was it just the roots of Buddhism was really there from the beginning?
Yeah, Buddhism has always been in this country for many, many years.
But did it grow stronger after the Khmer Rouge?
Personally, I don't know. But I believe that for those who have suffered, as some of the characters here, they did embrace it and use that to suit their purpose, whether is it to sort of dissolve their crimes or to make them feel better. It's not easy, like for the cake lady, although Sumripo, the cake lady, although we didn't feature her a lot, but it's so sad for her. She lost her husband, I think 3 or 4 kids. 4 kids, if I'm her, I will grab something. If Buddhism is just on my doorstep, then I'll take that.
If I could just share with you, Lun Che himself, when he was young and he believed in communism and all that, he rejected religion. But in the interview with me, and I noticed in his house there was an altar, a Buddha statue there. And I said to him, you're a communist, how come you believe in religion? And he said, maybe that's got to do with old age. As you grow older, you realize a lot more things about, death, life, and religion and what it means. And he told me that he actually came from a house that was very religious. His mother was a devout Buddhist. And so in his old age, he has actually returned to, Buddhism. And that was also his way of trying to understand a lot of things that happened. He turned back to religion.